Mental health can be a confusing topic, especially when considered across the entire school. In this module, we simply want to provide you with some basic information that may help you as you consider mental health as part of educating the whole child. Information presented across the 4 units of this module will help to answer questions such as what mental health means in terms of a continuum of wellness to illness, how you can look for signs of mental illness, how you can help support mental wellness, and how you can access resources and information. Of course, there are limits to what you can learn from such a simple approach, and we don't expect you to become an expert in this area. But we do believe that a widespread awareness of this topic will help to ensure that mental wellness is promoted and that students with mental health needs are identified and treated efficiently. In this first unit, we'll discuss mental health as a broad continuum of illness to wellness. It's not as simple as yes or no. There are gradations to consider. We'll also discuss the prevalence of mental illness in school populations and the importance that adults at school play in supporting all students. Mental health in schools is best considered as the way a young person's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors affect his or her life. Like physical health, mental health represents a continuum from well to ill, and every student is somewhere on the continuum. In addition, for a variety of reasons, mental wellness can change at different points in students' lives. While some students have positive regard for themselves, enjoy positive relationships with others, and are resilient in the face of challenges, others have some degree of difficulty in one or more of these areas.
Mostly, my anxiety kind of kicks in when I'm in school. My chest tightens and I don't like being there.
School was an adventure. Every day was different. And, I gotta be honest, there was days where I didn't know if I was going to be able to maybe complete my assignments or do well on my test, or if there would be a social worker that was coming to my school with a black garbage bag. I just didn't know.
Sitting in a classroom, I was sometimes thinking about suicide. I was sometimes thinking about wanting to die. Sometimes I would be very angry, and I would feel like it was just a waste of my time. So it just made learning so difficult. And that's why it was so hard to concentrate and things, is because all the emotions and things that I would be thinking that had nothing to do with math, had nothing to do with social studies or science or anything that I was supposed to be focusing on.
In schools, children's behavior is sometimes referred to as externalizing or internalizing. Externalizing behaviors are those that are obvious and have immediate effects on the surrounding environment. Often, this is what people think of when considering mental illness. But consider those students whose behaviors are perhaps not so obvious. Internalizing behaviors are those that are not obvious and do not have immediate effects on the surrounding environment. Because these behaviors do not demand attention, they are often overlooked, but they are potentially just as problematic as the most externalizing behavior. Internalizing behaviors reflect an inner pain that is a predictor for student difficulty in school and life. Take a look at this classroom and think about what individual students look like and how they're behaving. Discuss with others what signs of internalizing and externalizing behaviors were apparent with these students. Clearly, some behaviors are externalizing, some are internalizing, some have components of both, and some fall in a normal middle range. Think about this example. Can you identify any internalizing behaviors? What about this example? Can you identify any externalizing behaviors? Finally, in this example, can you identify both internalizing and externalizing behaviors? There is some confusion about the relationship between mental illness and special education. To be clear, there is overlap. However, mental health services do not necessarily fall under special education, and a far more coordinated and community-based system is sometimes necessary. But special education may well play a role in this coordinated effort. There will never be a single intervention that is appropriate for all students. Even two students with very similar behaviors may have very different needs. What's important is that we address each student individually based on his or her unique needs, taking advantage of all available resources and systems. At some point, each of us have times of great challenge manifesting in internalizing or externalizing behaviors. In fact, 1 in 6 school-aged youth experience mental illness. Half of all cases of mental illness begin by age 14 and 3/4 by age 24. Under 50% of children with mental illness receive treatment. And suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24. Among Kentucky high school students, 31% felt sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row, so that they stopped doing some usual activities. 21% of girls and 11% of boys seriously considered attempting suicide during the 12 months before the survey. 13% of girls and 6% of boys attempted to kill themselves 1 or more times during the previous 12 months. We can all think of times when a relationship ended, someone caused us great anger, or frustration overtook our emotions. For most of us, these challenges, while uncomfortable, were dealt with successfully. But sometimes, these types of challenges can become overwhelming and cause longer-term problems. What is clear is that even fairly mild mental health problems, if left untreated, can easily grow into much larger problems, affecting school, friendships, and even physical health.
It made it difficult to get up and go to school because the other students, they didn't understand why I might be more withdrawn, or why I didn't do some of the same things they were doing, like making fun of other students or gossiping, talking, doing different things, and some of it just normal activities. I wasn't really involved in a lot of school activities or anything like that.
On a day-to-day basis, it's, I take deep breaths, count to 10, and so there's some teachers I don't like and stuff like that, so it's complicated, but I can get through it.
I think as far as things going on around me that I wasn't aware of, say for example for now, as an adult, I'm aware that if I'm in a room, I've got to be able to see the exits or the doors. And so at a young age, without knowing anything about that, it caused me to be very uncomfortable, easily irritated, as well as it did cause several behaviors that probably weren't normal, you could say.
Just as when considering physical health, we can't prevent all mental illness, but there are actions that we can take in schools to minimize problems. As with most problems, what can be predicted is far more likely to be prevented. We can begin with consideration of risk factors. Risk factors are conditions under which problems are more likely, more predictable. For example, we know that students who have inconsistent family support or few friends and do not have a sense of belonging to any social group are less likely to effectively deal with mental health issues. Not only can we look for students who have poor support, we can actively work to create support structures in the school, and this support is provided by the entire school. You may have heard of this school-wide support described as PBIS, sometimes also referred to as creating positive learning environments. In reality, these are just very simple tiered systems of support to maximize protective factors, or those things that help prevent mental illness. We'll talk more about these in all of the units. As a foundation, schools must create calm, safe, and respectful environments for all. This is done by teaching students how to be respectful and actively encouraging supportive behavior. Even as the foundation is created, adults must assess for students who exhibit the signs of mental illness, internalizing and externalizing behaviors. While you may not have the clinical expertise to diagnose and treat students, a system is in place to refer students for counseling and other school-based services. Regardless of how well the foundational and secondary tiers are implemented, there will be some students who require the most intensive services and supports, often delivered outside the school, but the system results in fewer students progressing to these most intensive needs. Perhaps the most important thing that we can do as adults in the school is to work hard to form positive, supporting relationships with the students. We all know those kids who try our patience, and it's hard to think about being positive. But remember, if you don't make the effort, then the relationship is unlikely to happen. Positive relationships with adults in the school are associated with students feeling safer at school, feeling bonded to the school, and having higher achievement. Listen to how these students recall supportive teachers.
I think relationships with adults in the school, whether it be teachers or staff, was extremely critical, very, very important. Coming from a foster home or maybe a family that probably wasn't your typical Leave It to Beaver family, I wanted that affirmation and that validation. Maybe if you as a teacher or a staff member were to go out of your way and compliment me, or maybe provide me with any kind of assistance if you noticed that there was a certain subject that I was having difficulty in, just by being there, by being consistent, and by offering me that help, it went a long way.
Well, one of the vice principals actually, I think at the beginning of the year, I almost fell into the wrong crowd, the wrong crowd of people, and he kind of talked me out of it and helped me make better choices about who I hang around. So it helped me not have a severe punishment back at home or at school itself.
Take a moment here to discuss with others why a focus on mental health issues is important in your particular role at the school. Remember, if you don't make an effort, the probability of something positive happening is not as great as it could be.